From Philadelphia, this is Fox 29 News at 10.
You know, 10 years ago, emergency crews were involved in another accident on the Delaware River.
Who can forget this? Back in 2000, Pier 34 collapsed, killing 3 people.
The pier collapsed out from under the nightclub heat. 2 men were put on trial for neglecting to fix the structure. They ended up pleading guilty and were sentenced to house arrest and community service.
Attorney Feldman helped several victims of the Pier 34 collapse with the litigation.
He joins us now in the studio. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
What are the legal implications of this accident?
There are several. First, we need to recognize that this accident occurred on navigable waters. On those waters, no one has the right of way. It's not like a highway. Every vessel has obligations under the rules of navigation to avoid a collision. And there were specific obligations that attached both to the duck boat and to the tugboat.
City-owned. Tugboat is city-owned, so the city's involved too,
The city
right?
did not own the tugboat, they owned the barge.
The barge, right.
But both operators of both vessels had very specific obligations. With respect to the duck boat, for example, the obligation was to not only have it inspected annually, to have life jackets available for everyone of suitable size, and fire extinguishers. And very importantly, once the boat was unable to maneuver, when it was dead in the water, they had an obligation to issue a distress call, either by radio, by flag, by smoke signal, by flare.
To whom? The Coast Guard?
To the Coast Guard and to other vessels in the area. You can't just sit there when you can't navigate anymore without letting the Coast Guard and other vessels in the area know of your dilemma.
So the responsibility sounds like it's going to fall in a couple of places here. Who do you see lawsuits coming from? I mean, we have 2 people missing at this point, and sadly, it's not looking great. We're still holding out hope. We have people who were injured slightly. They weren't, major injuries. Where do you see the lawsuits coming from?
First, I see the lawsuits coming against, of course, the tugboat operator had his own obligations to drive at a safe speed on the water, to make sure if there was a chance of an impending collision, to take action to avoid it. And there will be questions raised about why he did not see or use his radar.
Of course, it's very important to point out the investigation is ongoing. We don't have all the information, all the facts. Do the rules change when an accident takes place on the water?
Yeah, that's the Coast Guard's rules of navigation that are applicable. There is a hybrid set of laws that would apply to any claims that may be made.
How soon do you see those claims being made? Do you think they're going to come fairly quickly
You
in
know,
cases
that's
like
up
this?
to the victims and their families. They have to grieve and get over this, but ultimately there will likely be claims against those responsible parties.
Is it apples and oranges comparing this to Pier 34? I know you were involved with that.
It's not apples and oranges because people were dumped into the water. The Delaware River is a filthy river. People developed infections because of the bacteria in the water. That kind of thing could occur here. We'll just have to wait and see.
Either way, it's a very tragic situation. Attorney Feldman, thanks for coming, and we certainly appreciate your time.
Sure.
Well, we're going to continue to monitor this. More coverage throughout the hour.